Hi everybody, Renegade 67 and or 68 here with some more Let's Play and or stream and or Fate's Day and or Night and or Unlimited and or Bladeworks and or the blind variety. So, last time Shinji turned into a cup. That's hot. So at least Ilia's doesn't have to suffer about that anymore because you know she's all dead and stuff. Ooh. Rin doesn't at least have to turn to a cup, so thumbs up. Right then, so we're probably heading towards a Shiro Gilgamesh climax. I don't know what Saber's gonna do. Maybe Saber will be like my distraction. Like, I'll be, if Gilgamesh is Kid Buu, maybe Saber is the Vegeta to my Goku? Maybe. Nah, I'll give her a little more credit than that. She's the Fat Buu. Although no, maybe Rin is the Vegeta, Saber is the Fat Buu. Right. So, okay, what was I saying? Yes. I've got a couple thoughts. One thought in my head is that Makiri, assuming he's like the big ultimate stupid evil from Timeline 3, if that's true at all, then if it's true, then maybe he's the one messing with the timelines. Maybe he's got some plan. It's like every time it doesn't go to his plans, he resets. He's got like some time reverser jutsu. And maybe the reason, here's another idea, maybe the reason Shiro is getting his wigglies and he seems to know stuff, or he's, or at least subconsciously on some level, we already know that, it would be because of the bleed-through effect, yes. The idea that Archer is Shiro, and we know that heroic spirits will go through this each time, but normally someone like Shiro would not go through this. So maybe it's having a bigger effect on him, whereas someone like Archer and Saber, they're going through the same thing as well, maybe. Maybe they've subtly also, like, had something similar, like all the servants, but they don't notice as much because, well, I guess Saber's an arguable case because Saber's not, she's a real girl, not a real spirit yet, technically. But the idea would be that they'd be also feeling a shift. They would notice it, but it's so deep down in their subconscious because they are going through so many times that this one small change doesn't mean much to them. Whereas Shiro, this is a huge development for him at the end of that timeline, and it's the first time this has ever happened to him in theory. So there's an idea there, and the bleed through from Archer, or maybe because of the bleed through from Archer makes Archer's weakened. That's a stretch. Because Shiro's is strong. I mean, and that would still make the debate of, well, what about Saber? Where is her memory coming from? Because she would have had she already had her nice development at the end of Timeline 1 and got rid of her bad wish. But then in Timeline 2, she still seems to have the same bad wish. Maybe she hasn't expressed it as much, but as far as we can tell, she still has it to an extent. Yeah, so I don't know. It's debatable how much truth could be in that theory, because again, Saber does seem like she's a real girl, but maybe because she's still in the Grail, and depending on how many times she's been summoned back by the Grail is a question. I don't know if there's been any more beyond this one in Fate Zero, but after the thing, so maybe. But then again, at the same time, she's lived for a long time as a king. We don't know how long, but she should be older than she looks. So maybe there's still, maybe because Shiro's so much younger, I don't know. I feel like I'm reaching at that point, but maybe. Another thought is about Archer and what they're going to do with him, specifically Shiro Archer, in Timeline 3. I was thinking that maybe Archer would like fully pass on to Shiro, and then this Shiro would take on the stuff, and then maybe Archer Shiro would just get nixed really early on in Timeline 3. But now I'm highly doubting that, because there wasn't like, Shiro's still, he managed to convince his future self that there's still reason to believe in the ideal, but beyond that, there's been no real progress in his mental state. And so that's why I'm thinking that future Shiro might still be around for a while in Timeline 3 and not be nixed early on, which was an idea that Wise planted in my head. But now I'm thinking that won't happen, because I think future Shiro as well might get some amount of development, instead of just going back to, the type of heroic spirit he was, being all poopy. So I think there'll still be some more future Shiro in Timeline 3. And then, I guess if I had to say a third thing, one final thought I had, and it's just something that came to my mind, and I could go either way on this in my head, it's possible that this timeline may be going towards a straight up bad ending. Because again, Saber is not going to be able to beat Gilgamesh because that's repetitive and boring. And is Shiro even in the mental state to do it? He didn't really have proper development in his fight against Archer. They only they danced around the issue. So in his fight against other Archer, maybe he loses. Maybe Gilgamesh wins. Maybe the bad guy wins in Timeline 2. Because maybe, it's pretty typical in media with like 3-act structures. First act, the heroes are victorious. Second act, they lose. And then third act, they win again. Third act, theoretically. So we won in Act 1. Maybe we lose in Act 2. Another idea supporting this, and that would mean we have to rematch Gilgamesh again once we're actually, even better and stuff in Timeline 3. But one thing going towards that idea in my head is the fact that I feel like Rin's development, unless they're gonna, shove a whole bunch of it all at once here, it feels lacking. I think there's more of it needed. So I think the idea of a nice self-contained story, mostly self-contained, like in Timeline 1, isn't as feasible here. Just because it feels like there's so much... I still want to scratch Rin's naked body a little bit more. And I don't just mean in a sexual manner, but that would be something too. I mean that, her personality. There's more there, and I feel like, unless they're going to do some really weird pacing, where they take a long-ass time on Rin here, before the Gilgamesh fight, I think there definitely needs more of that. And so that's why I'm thinking that Shiro might have to succeed in coming to his self-understanding, self-worth, and then, fix Rin's edges in Timeline 3. 3 timelines for Gilgamesh is too much screen time for someone with a personality so shallow. Well, I mean, in Timeline 1, we thought that's all there was of Gilgamesh. And so, I have a couple thoughts about that. In Timeline 1, I didn't know about the fact that he was going to usurp Kirei, or the fact that he had this wish to, reduce the population. I knew he wanted to rule the world, but I didn't know quite how he was planning to do it. And so there could still be more layers to be seen yet, and it could also be a thing where Shiro has to practice. I don't know, I guess the idea is that if he was to theoretically lose the Gilgamesh fight, he would then need to get to a point to win it in Timeline 3, and then that does raise the question of why doesn't just future Shiro do it? And that is a very good question, and is backing to the idea that it's just going to get solved in this timeline, but it's just a thought in my head. Shiro should beat Gilgamesh, and it's going to be weird for them to set that up again in Timeline 3, but not impossible. Especially if they don't want Gilgamesh to be the final villain again, because theoretically he would beat in Gilgamesh like halfway in or something, which is possible. It's an idea in my head, but anyways, we'll see. That's all my thoughts, I guess. Shiro, are your wounds all right?
そっちの方は問題ない。至って健康だし、中身だってまだ使える。
Huh? Oh, yeah, it's fine. I feel good, and I can still use my circuits. I don't think Gilgamesh would be very happy if you called him a coward, Veneem Storm. I mean, if you got someone with an ego as big as his to come up and be like, you're just afraid to rule this many people, he'd be like, Gil would have obviously fired back right away with something like, you're just too stupid to realize all the, the pointlessness of the people you'd be ruling. I could do if I wanted, but there's no joy in that. Etc., etc., etc. Anyways, I feel good, and I can still use my circuits. Past Shiro and future Shiro actually have an interesting dynamic. What kind of dynamic would a past Gilgamesh have with Gilgamesh? Or would it just be more of the same? I feel good, and I can still use my circuits.
そうですか。それならいいのですが。
I see. That is good. Taking the idea of Gilgamesh being a coward seriously, no. Past Gilgamesh? Holy shit, I agreed into my ass. Yeah. But no, I think he's too... If anything, I think he'd be too stupid to be a coward. Like, I don't think Gilgamesh is afraid of anything because I don't think he's smart enough to understand that anything is worth being afraid of. I do think that he would be of the mind, whether or not it's true, that, oh yeah, I could totally rule the whole world with all the people if I wanted to. That just doesn't sound fun. I want less people, from my perspective. Whether or not it's right, I think a coward is basically the furthest thing from Gilgamesh is. Whether it's smart or not, I don't think he fears anything. I see. That is good. Apparently, having run out of things to talk about, Saber awkwardly ends the conversation. Ellipses. I guess it would be awkward given, you know, she witnessed the thing with the Shiro off, and she's probably dealing with her own, like, can I character develop now? Since I never did that in this timeline yet. She might just do it. I was thinking for a long time she'd do it subtly off screen, but maybe it'll just happen again on screen here, just slightly differently. So where's Rin in this situation? We've been like this for an hour since we came home. Rin's with us, right? She should be. We don't have the composure to be celebrating Tosaka's safety, nor did we celebrate our reunion. Oh yeah, your reunion, because you and Saber never left each other, so you did mean Rin. Alright, I was for a second, I did a double take. Reunion? What? Wait. This situation isn't good at all. The last servant, Gilgamesh. As long as he has the Holy Grail, we have to fight him. We don't have any plans to beat him. The more we think about it, the more we realize it's hopeless. No, but it's not, because reality marble and blah blah blah. You just need to character develop. It's only natural for us to go quiet. One thing they could do, if they still want to have a you lose in timeline 2, but deal with Gilgamesh situation, it could be something where maybe, again, what's Saber gonna do kind of thing. If the Grail is spilling out juices of evil or something, maybe Shiro fights Gilgamesh and beats Gilgamesh, but Saber's unable to hold off the evil juices and the world goes to poop, and even though Shiro beats Gilgamesh, the world still gets pooped, and so the timeline could still end on a bad note and has to get reset anyways, but Shiro doesn't need to bother beating Gilgamesh again. He's, you know, been there, done that. That's a possibility. It's only natural for us to go quiet. Bullshit main character powers, of course. Dashes. I don't think that's the only reason we're quiet. This is probably the end. This will be the last time we'll go into battle like this. Oh boy. No matter what the results may be, what awaits us does not change. And what do you mean by what awaits us? Saber vanishing? I suppose. But you know, you and Rin, you know, you gonna have some romance scenes, or what's the dealio, Shiro? The Holy Grail War will end. It might just be entering the end of its second of 3 acts. After that, the three of us won't be able to talk like this. The three of you, maybe not, but you and Rin should still be able to talk, right? Is there a special reason you won't be able to talk, Shiro? But yeah, Saber, you've come to peace with the fact that she'll be vanishing, yeah. Oh. Right then, I'm remembering the 2 bad endings I left hanging in this timeline. I guess those will be the first things I do once I actually finish the thing proper. And then I'll go scouting for other bad endings. Yeah. Anyways, just thinking about what the progression is going to be like from this timeline to 3rd timeline now that it's so close. Or maybe the game is screwing with me and there's still a while left. It's very possible. I don't think so, but looking back, it was only a course of about 10 days. According to my game, it's about 15. I never had time to think back about what happened the day before, and I was too busy with all the events that came up one after another. About 10 days? Maybe, well, I don't remember exactly which day I met Saber on. It might have actually only been 2nd or 3rd day that I met Saber. Whatever. But they weren't just painful events. Yeah, there were some happy ones too. Like your date with Rin and Saber. Your 2-time date. Looking back at it, these past 10 days are precious memories that can't be replaced. Yeah, you've grown somewhat. Especially your interactions with Rin have been meaningful. Dashes. That's why we're keeping our mouths shut. Because you feel like if you talk, it'll be like the final conversation, or you don't want to ruin the time you had by starting up something new and then ending on a cliffhanger. I can see that. We don't want to admit the obvious truth. Which obvious truth? Who? Which one of you? I feel like you have different truths. The decision should be clear to us all already. We can't say it because we don't want to end it like this. Okay, you're all the same wavelength, huh? I guess it's a wavelength that's different from me. Is it really so obvious, Shiro? I feel insulted.
じゃあ私から言うけど
Okay, Rin speaks up. That makes sense. Of all of them, she's the one who's most tends to approach subjects like this, I guess. I mean, Shiro's blunt, but when it comes to emotional stuff, he can be kind of coy. Oh, is it just we're all gonna die? Because, nah. We'll get through that. Then I'll say it.
私はアーチャーの仇を討つ裏切られたしひどいやつだったけどあいつはシローだったから
Oh. Oh, you wanted to talk about Archer a bit. Okay, sure. Fair. Other Archer. I see. You don't want it to end like this? We can't say it because we don't want it to end talking about it. You don't want to end talking about something, you know, disgusting. Future Shiro. I see. I can understand that. However, character development. I'm gonna avenge Archer. He betrayed me and he was a twisted guy, but he's Shiro. I mean, you know, he was only so weak to do that in the first place because of what past Shiro did to him, but, you know, future Shiro started it, as it were. Tosaka has made up her mind. Betrayed you and he's a twisted guy. Did he really betray you? I mean, I feel like his plan to leave Caster and then fight Caster, that wasn't a true betrayal necessarily, unless it was he betrayed you by going after past Shiro, but I know that he said his main reason for doing that was to not be bound by Rin's thing anymore, but I still think it also gave him a good chance to kill Caster without dealing with, say, I think there's multi-purposed plan. Tosaka made up her mind. Oh, that's right. I'm remembering how Saber got mind controlled and then never did anything as a bad guy. I'd still like for that to hopefully, I don't know, I think that Caster might have a turn, like a heel face turn, good guy turn in Timeline 3 because she's got that tragic story. But like, I want Saber to be a bad guy. I want them to utilize her as a bad guy. They tased it. Ah. Tosaka has made up her mind. She says that she will fight Gilgamesh. I guess we can all fight him together. She clearly states that she will end this fight. Also, I was looking back at the earlier part, and I think she might have used one of her jewels. I wasn't really paying attention in the moment, but I think she might have used one of her jewels against Gilgamesh, and it just did nothing, if my understanding is correctly, which makes that moment more powerful than I was realizing in the moment, but, you know. She clearly states that she will end this fight, but also I think she's very low on jewels at this point, whether or not she did use one against Gilgamesh earlier on.
シローはセイバーにはどうしたって付き合ってもらうけどマスターじゃないあなたには無理強いできない
Oh yeah, that's right. They are the master-servant duo, so technically they're the ones who are primarily involved now, I suppose, but I still think Shiro's the most involved. How about you, Shiro? I'll have Saber come with me no matter what, but I can't force you to fight since you're not a master. Of course, Ren gonna look out for me now that I'm not a master, but, you know. Now that you know I'm a future servant, well, you've known for a while. And just think it's a suicide mission, and they all know it. I mean, I don't know how much of a suicide mission it really is. They have Saber, who's super strong, especially stronger than Saber would normally be, and Shiro's pretty good. And, you know, future Shiro had faith in past Shiro, and I have faith in future Shiro, at least in his tactics. I mean, sure, it's a hard fight, but I wouldn't look at it as a suicide mission. I'll have Saber come with me no matter what, but I can't force you to fight since you're not a master.
あの金ピカシローを目の敵にしてるみたいだし戦うのなら真っ先に狙われると思うけど
It seems that Goldie really hates you, so I think he'll go after you first if we fight him. I mean, yeah, but Goldie may hate Shiro, but Shiro I don't think likes Goldie much back. Maybe Tosaka's trying to be considerate by offering me an escape. Nah, he's not going to take it. Not here. I'm already determined. Yeah, determination. I can't let Gilgamesh be. I intuitively know that the Holy Grail shouldn't exist. Intuitively? I mean, Gilgamesh did kind of explain why it's all bad and stuff, but also, you know, you learned all that stuff in Timeline 1. There's a bigger reason for me to knock back out of this. You defeat him. Oh yeah, the passing of the torch. He left those words with me, and let me survive instead of him. I mean, he wasn't really in a position to survive for much longer without making a pact, possibly with, you know, you, but, you know, that was, maybe, you know, it was too, you would have to be the one to initiate, from my understanding, so, based on how Rin initiated with, her pact with Saber. The man only denied Amiyashiro. As I have made him admit his defeat, my path is determined. Yep. You've made him admit the defeat that you will be that superhero. So if you're not going to be able to beat Gilgamesh, what kind of superhero would you be? Letting the two damsels in distress go in to do your battle for you. Sexism.
奴を倒す。自分で戦うと決めたんだ。最後までそれを守らなくちゃ。あいつになんて文句を言われるかわからないだろう。
I'm going to defeat him. I choose to fight. He'll complain to me unless I keep my word until the very end. Who are you talking about? Kiritsugu or your future self? Feels like, if anything, you're burdened by 2 promises now. Hope you just can understand to, like, you know, to do it because you want to do it and not because of the promise, because otherwise I feel, you know, but we've been over this. He didn't really develop in that fight much beyond just being more determined to make the dream come true.
そう。あなたがそう決めたのなら止めないわよ。
I see, I won't stop you if that's what you've decided. Indeed it is, Rin. Indeed it is.
ああ、頼む。それに、聖杯は放っておけない。
Yeah, and I can't just ignore the Holy Grail.
聖杯が奴の言う通りのものだとしたら、そんなものは壊した方がいい。今度こそ完全に、こんなことを二度と繰り返さないようにだ。
If the Holy Grail is what he says it is, we have to destroy it. We'll completely destroy it so something like this will never happen again. Except it already did, unfortunately. There was a Timeline 1 and now it's happened again for Timeline 2. Only this time, less people lived through it already. You know, because Rin didn't actually die in Timeline 1, even though it kind of seemed like she fucking... But Ilya did not live through this version. And so already there's at least less survivors, and that's assuming no one else, you know, dies before the end of this. Granted, who would they kill off? Unless it's a full-on bad ending, I don't think they'd kill the Rin waifu. I don't think. And Saber, I guess they could, but does she count? Debatable. Because, you know, she goes back in time and dies anyway, more or less in Timeline 1. But, still, anyways, destroyed something like this will never happen again. Dashes, yeah, Saber's still thinking about that wish, but, you know, it's grody, and I think she subtly knows that now after the Archer display, the other Archer, Shiro Archer. People live when they are killed. No, people don't live when they're killed. The Grail goes back, and then they double die, or die when they didn't die in the first place, or something. Saber has fought with the objective of obtaining the Holy Grail. Her hesitation and reluctance aren't easily overcome, but still.
承知しています。
I understand. Technically, Saber didn't even survive her own route. Yeah, I know. I felt that's why I felt so sad about it in the end. And I remember thinking, wow, that's so bittersweet. And I remember thinking at the time, like, you know, if Shiro actually ends up, like, permanently hooking up with one of, you know, the other girls, like, you know, Rin, for example, whereas Saber, you know, they had to be apart, that's going to be so sad for Saber. But, like, at this point, I don't even think Shiro and Rin, they haven't really gotten to that point of fully hooking up, really. I feel like they're still beating around the bush to the point where Shiro and Saber, I mean, they were beating around the bush, but they were much hotter and heavier, I would say, much earlier on. And they did have that, like, one night together, and that was a little ways even before the final confrontation. So, yeah, it's just, well, I guess it wasn't that much before the final confrontation. But, yeah, it's just, again, if the Rin thing is going to go there, then they have to do it soon. I mean, of course they do. But, or the pathway is going longer than I think, because the Grail is going to spew out a bunch of bad stuff, and the pathway is going to be extended because we're going to go into the Grail, we're going to go into hell, and we're going to fight some stuff in hell. I understand.
聖杯がギルガメッシュの言う通りのものならば、それはこの世にあってはならないものです。
If the Holy Grail is what Gilgamesh says it is, it should not exist in this world. It's debatable if that's, Yeah, it's debatable how real that development is, because in Timeline 1 you had to have real development before finding out it was evil. Here, though, you kind of sort of heard about why, you should have development from the Shiros. They were dancing around it, but then Gilgamesh is like bad, so it's kind of like prodding you in this direction that you were already thinking about, but didn't fully commit to, so it's a little weaker. The Holy Grail is what Gilgamesh says is it should not exist in this world. She kills her wish, in a sense. Yeah, but also she kills her wish after knowing it's bad. Timeline 1 did it better, which I guess, we've already seen Timeline 1 do it, so it's fine for Timeline 2 to do it worse, but...
Yes.
Alright. I get up and head to the kitchen. Oh? I put on the apron. Alright. The Last Supper? I tie it behind my back and roll up my sleeves.
Shiro?
Shiro?
What,
did you come up with a good idea? Yeah, I don't want to fight on an empty stomach, duh.
いや、飯作ろうと思って。二人とも腹減ってるだろ。
Huh? No, I'm just gonna make something. You two are hungry, right? I ignore the astonished party and start prepping dinner. I've been getting in the habit of saying that a lot. Prepping. I'll skip the preparing and just go prepping.
話は決まったんだ。なら、あとはいつも通りにしよう。
Oh yeah, food wars, of the fate. Oh, you thought it was fate, Stana? You thought it was the Grail Wars, more like food wars. You could have wars by cooking on the grill, the Holy Grail Wars. It's all decided now. Let's just we just need to act like always.
3人で夕食をとって、その後で奴を倒しに行けばいい。
We'll eat dinner together and go beat him after that. I take out a bowl and a frying pan. I'll use everything I have in the refrigerator. Oh yeah, it really will be Last Supper. Let's use up everything. That way, if I end up buying more food, it means we'll have lived through this. We eat, and then we get a good night's sleep, and then we eat again, and then fight. Oh yeah, that's a good idea, Shiro. I mean, having a healthy diet and healthy sleep schedule, which Shiro normally does not have. But if we did have that, then that would be a step in a direction that is not necessarily wrong. I'll forget about everything tonight. I'll make a delicious feast.
そうですね。いつも通り夕食を迎えましょう。私たちにはその方が合っている。
You're right. Let us eat dinner like always. That suits us. Scene like this, and realizing that Ilya is the only one who didn't make it that made it Timeline 1 theoretically, just, it hurts me. And I guess Kazuki, we don't know if he made it. There was no confirmation. But, Ilya, she's the one who matters. It suits us.
そうね。じゃあ私も手伝おうかな。セイバーはお風呂沸かしてきて。
Okay. This is when they give us the obligatory Rin bath scene. They had to get in at some point, huh? I mean, Saber got, multiple, she had a progression of bath-ish scenes. But Rin, they were going to hold off on her and just give her the one, I guess because, Rin would, go more crazy in the Sun direction. Whereas Saber, it's more core to breaking her down, or rather realizing that she's not reacting in a normal, disturbed way. That, she doesn't think of herself as a normal girl. Or Rin does, so this is why they had to save the scene for as long as possible. Gilgamesh should try bribing Saber with food. Can Gilgamesh cook? As if Gilgamesh can't cook, then, no sale, Shiro's the winner for sure. Of the, romance that Shiro's not trying to win anymore. I guess I'll help as well. Oh, Saber, can you go prepare the bath? The serious atmosphere disappears like that. The living room suddenly becomes more lively. This will be the last night with the three of us. Then he'd have to learn how to do a thing. Nah, Gilgamesh will just get a servant to do it for him. But then, Saber wouldn't like it. It's like, I want it to be from your heart. Gilgamesh goes, yes, it was from my heart. I chose the servant I thought would best make the dish you'd want. This will be the last night with 3. But then what if he's challenged? If Gilgamesh is challenged, I bet you can't make the best food. If he's challenged, he might try, and then we might get to see one of his, his quirks is that, oh shoot, he can't actually cook, he needs to order his slaves to do it. Oh, that silly Gilgamesh. His treasure has the best food. He pays enough cooks. I mean, sure. I think Saber cares about heart. I think she does, at least based on how in Timeline 1, she seemed to care about it being Shiro's cooking, not just because it was good, but because it was Shiro. That's how I took it as. I think Gilgamesh would fail he would fail the king, the SpongeBob versus, I forget his name, cook-off, because he wouldn't be doing it from the heart. He would be just getting people to do it for him. And if he tried to do it from the heart, he'd probably fail. At least, he would, if he was really going to do it, he'd probably fail a bunch off screen and then succeed. But he would need to fail in the first place. So if he was put on the spot... Anyways, this will be the last night with the 3 of us. Okay, so it's the last night to get a really fan-servicey image right. We're doing our best to keep it, like always, and to have a good dinner. The timing is bad, though, because, she just went through a really kind of almost gross thing with Shinji. But that might mean, like, theoretically her shields would be more up, but that might mean why she goes a little more ballistic if we catch her in, like, a bath scene, and why she ends up forcefully being opened up a little bit more. So, it might be bad timing, but it might be forced bad timing to get to the heart of her nature and blah, blah, blah. Saber's a king, too. Yeah, she had... Well, to be fair, this cooking is probably different than any kind of cooking she would have had back in the day, so... But I think there also is a sense of Shiro and her heart. Anyways, have a good dinner. Okay, now, bath scene. Fan service scene. Let's do it. So, after eating dinner consisting of Western, Chinese, and Japanese food, we start the customary strategy meeting. What customary strategy meeting? You did this shit in Timeline 1 too. Of course we have to strategize before the final battle, even though we never strategize the rest of the game. That's not true. Timeline 2, there was a bit more strategizing than Timeline 1, but customary? Customary, my ballsack. Okay. So, after eating dinner consisting of Western, Chinese, and Japanese food, if they did do customary strategy meetings, they cut a few of them out. Because they did do some strategizing, but a lot of it probably boiled down to, right, we have to keep scouting the school. Right, we have to keep scouting the school. And that was it. But anyways, after eating dinner consisting of... I will give this timeline credit, though. There's a bit more strategizing in this one than timeline 1, but that's to be expected because, well, no, okay, debatable, because even though Shiro's smarter, Rin was also helping out more in this timeline, where she was not helping as much out, and she would have been the one theoretically strategizing in timeline 1, because timeline 1 Shiro wanted to avoid it at all costs, so it's really Rin's fault. We have to blame everything on Rin. Anyways, British don't know what spices are even in the modern day. Oh, yeah. Oh, wait, what? You mean back then? Or do you mean now? Okay, I'm going to stay away from that potential, touchy subject. After eating dinner consisting of Western, Chinese, and Japanese, a whole smorgasbord all at once, that's nice, because, like, what was it? Western, I already forget, but I think Japanese is Ren. No, Western is Ren, Japanese is Ren, no, and then one of them is Shiro. And then what does Sakura do? No, Sakura does one. Sakura does Chinese. No, Shiro does Chinese. I forget. I feel like there was a trinity of foods, and I forget each time. I forget the rock, paper, scissors of the food wars, unfortunately. I have failed everyone. We start the customary strategy meeting.
では、リンは竜道寺に聖杯があると。
So you're saying the Holy Grail is at the Rito Temple. Oh, that would make the finale. That would make the finale more interesting, what I was saying about the idea of if we actually do go into Hell, if there's any merit to that idea at all, then we wouldn't be having the final battle at the temple again exactly. To be fair, there was actually a double-layered fight in Timeline 1. We fought Saber fought Gilgamesh on the outside of the temple, and Kirei fought Shiro on the inside of the temple. So if we just fight in a different part of the temple altogether, that also will be something new. But, You're saying the Holy Grail is at the Rito Temple?
ええ、前から今回の恒例場所は竜道寺だと睨んでたのよ。キャスター対策で監視役の使い魔を放ってたんだけど、それもついさっき潰れたし。
So
あの金ピカ、竜道寺に陣取ってると見て間違いないわ。
what you're saying is you're taking credit for Lancer's knowledge? Or no, Lancer might have told us that when you were gone. No. Were you gone? Was Rin gone when Lancer told us that? I feel like she's taking credit, but I don't remember exactly the order of events. I guess that the Rito Temple would be the summoning spot this time. I was using a familiar to spy on that place, but it was eliminated just a bit earlier. Did you send it by Caster or by Gilgamesh? I'm sure that the Goldie is there. And, you know, Lancer already told us at some point that that's been the selected spot. Because, you know, he learned this stuff. There was 4 main spots, and that's the one being used this time. Stop trying to take Lancer's credit, Rin.
竜道寺ですか。厄介ですね。
Rito Temple. That's troublesome. Why?
あの山には山門からでしか侵入できない。当然ギルガメッシュも山門で待ち構えているでしょう。
We can only enter that mountain through the front gate. Gilgamesh should be waiting for us there. Uh-huh.
そうね。けど逆に言えば位置が特定できて助かるわ。
Yeah, but on the other hand, it's easier on us because we know where he is.
あいつも厄介だけど、聖杯の召喚を止める方が先決だもの。
He's troublesome, but stopping the summoning of the Holy Grail takes priority. I mean, I feel like defeating him in general takes priority, but I don't know, like maybe there is going to be some summoning going on that's like separate from him depending on how that whole process works.
セイバーにはあいつの足止めをしてもらって、その隙に私たちで聖杯を壊す。
It would be ideal
って
if
い
we
う
can
のが
just
理想でしょうね。
destroy the Holy Grail while Saber keeps him busy. I was thinking the opposite. Shiro would keep him busy and Saber would fight the Grail, was my mind theory. Let's see what Shiro thinks.
また聖杯を壊すってそれはセイバーじゃないとできないんじゃないのか。
Oh, there's that too.
俺たちじゃ聖杯には触れないんだろう。
Look at that. Shiro has smarts. Hold on. Isn't Saber the only one who can destroy the Holy Grail? We can't touch it, right? Well, I mean, yeah, that's that's a pretty smart recollection. It's probably a subconscious being like, yeah, she destroyed it last time. But also, yeah, servants are the only ones that can theoretically touch it. So, depending on how true that is necessarily, because there could be some semantics there.
そうね。私たちに呼び出された聖杯を壊すことはできない。けど、その前に聖杯の器を壊すことはできる。
That makes sense, because Kirei definitely... I don't know. I don't know if Kirei was holding the Grail. Well, maybe he was, because I feel like, was he going to try to put the Grail in Rin? Was that a thing that was going to happen? Or did he not even... I think he was just going to do a surgery and didn't have the Grail and Gil had it. I don't remember the exact circumstance, because I don't know if we've actually seen a normal human holding the Grail yet, because the Grail theoretically is inside Elia, or was, and Gilly took it out of her in this timeline, and I think has had it the whole time, and he's still a servant. And I don't believe anyone ever took it out of Elia in timeline 1, so I think you could still technically argue that even if we wanted to say even the incomplete version at this stage couldn't be touched, it could still technically be true until just now, but, you know. We can't destroy the summoned Holy Grail, but we can destroy the vessel before it's summoned.
正確には聖杯が発動する前に停止させるってことだけど。
To be more precise, we're stopping the Holy Grail before it's activated. I understand. So it's going to trigger its effect. We just must destroy it before it activates, and because of the new rules, it will not be able to resolve in the trash.
聖杯を停止させるってどういう意味だ？
What do you mean by stopping the Holy Grail?
あんまり考えたくないんだけど、今までの話を総合すると、聖杯はイリアスフィールの心臓でしょ。
Is that how that works? I really don't want to think about it. From what I heard, the Holy Grail is Iliasfield's heart, right? Something like that, I guess.
けど、聖杯っていうのはイリアスフィールの体、魔術回路とセットだと思う。
But I think the Holy Grail is a set with Iliasfield's body, her magic circuit. Well, now it seems to be synced up with Shinji, so... And also, in Timeline 1, we very clearly destroyed the Grail without killing Ilia. Oh, maybe Kirei took the Grail... Okay, I don't actually remember exactly. Maybe Kirei took the Grail out of Ilia in Timeline 1, and he just had Ilia there as a hostage because, you know, he's Kirei. And so the Grail was outside of her, so that's why Elia wasn't necessarily going to die, theoretically, because they did try to destroy the Grail, but Elia was not involved. So I think Kira did take it out of her. I don't remember exactly, but that could be correct in my mind's eye. Anyways, I think the Holy Grail is set with Ilias Field's body, her magic circuit.
あいつはイリアスフィールが聖杯になることを嫌がって核となる器官だけを引き抜いた。
He didn't want Ilias Field to be the Holy Grail, so he pulled out the core of it, her heart. Okay.
とするとね、
So,
聖杯として機能させるためにはもう一度魔術師の体に埋め込まないといけない。残ったマスターは私とあと一人だけ。
he has to implant the heart into a Magus' body to activate it as the Holy Grail. There are only 2 remaining masters, me and one other. Objection, Shiro still counts, right? I know Shinji counts, but like, Shiro, even though he's not hooked up with a servant, he's still a master per Grail World rules, so he should still theoretically work. Because yes, Castor's gone. I mean, Castor would be an interesting choice. Would she even work? Ilia's gone. Kazuki's gone. Who am I forgetting? Castor, Ilia, Kazuki. There's a 7th one. How does this work? Castor, Ilia, Kazuki. Kirei, that's the one. Kirei, of course. Yeah, right. There are only 2 remaining masters, me and one other.
私がここにいる以上、あいつが聖杯基盤に選ぶのは
Since I'm here, the one he will choose to be the foundation of the Holy Grail is
シンジってことか。けどシンジにはその
Shinji, but Shinji, is on his side?
魔術回路がないって言うんでしょ。きっとそんなの構わないのよ、あいつは。
Doesn't have a magic circuit, right? I bet he doesn't care. I mean, he's not trying to get a complete Grail anyways. He's using it for just offense, as it were. Not so much for defense.
不完全な聖杯を作りたがってるんだから、不完全なマスターに埋め込むでしょうね。
He wants to make an incomplete Holy Grail, so I'm sure he'll implant it into an incomplete master.
血が絶えたって言っても、マトウの血族には遺伝的に魔術回路の跡があるし。
Even if its bloodline is extinct, the Mato family has hereditary traces of magic circuits.
イリアスフィールの心臓なんて、そんな核融合炉をつけられたら、閉じてた回路だって力ずくで開かれるわ。
Even a closed circuit will be forced to open if something like a nuclear fusion reactor is implanted into him. Dashes. How do you feel about that, Shir? How do you feel about your good friend Shinji, who, after you let him live, after the Rider incident, turned around, partnered with Gilgamesh, and kind of sort of led to Ilia's death, and then was also going to do some gross things to Rin, according to future Shiro? Well, he didn't actually say exactly what he was going to do. But how do you feel about your friend Shinji? Are you sorry for him? Then that would mean we'll have to detach the Holy Grail from Shinji, huh? Do you... Oh my gosh, you actually want to save him. I guess that's the superhero thing to do. That is the Shiro thing to do. It only makes sense. If he's going to be resolute in this path, he has to attempt to save the douchebag Shinji. Okay. I thought he was too far gone, already dead by this point, because of the nature of how he was not really fit for the Grail, but maybe there's some disgusting thing that's still alive there. I don't know if, there's even a point to it living, but maybe there's something to... The fact that he wants to try makes sense, but I don't know that there's any thing to save at this point. I don't know what it means to be the Holy Grail's foundation, but if possible, we'll have to stop it.
ですが、それをギルガメッシュが許すとは思えない。
I do not think Gilgamesh will allow that. You can say the Grail is literally his heart, but like, Shiro destroyed the Grail in Timeline 1, or they tried to, and Ilia lived through that. So clearly it's more than just it's their heart. I don't know the full explanation, but the Grail was destroyed and Ilia lived. So clearly there's something more going on there. Now maybe that's just specifically something more going on with Ilia. I don't know. But I do not think Gilgamesh will allow that.
聖杯を止めるということは、ギルガメッシュを倒すということではないのですか？
Does it not mean that stopping the Holy Grail is to defeat Gilgamesh?
そうだな。 あいつが聖杯を守っているのは明白なんだから、まずあいつをどうにかしないと話にならない。
Yeah, it's obvious he's protecting the Holy Grail, so we have to do something about him first. And man, wouldn't it be anticlimactic if we stopped the Grail but didn't stop Gilgamesh? What a lamer. I mean, I guess if we could successfully distract Gilgamesh, that'd be fine, but it wouldn't be the proud thing to do. She didn't turn into a giant cancer blob. True, but that I agree that Shinji, I think Shinji is too far gone based on what I saw. But I don't think the notion of it being their heart holds water unless Ilya has such strong magical stuff that she's able to regenerate her body without her heart. I guess that's possible. I don't know. But yeah, to me, I think Shinji's too far gone, but I wasn't really linking that to the heart thing. I don't know. It's obvious he's protecting the Holy Grail, so we have to do something about him first.
そうね。けどあいつ三門で私たちを待ち受けてると思うのよ。私たちの最大の戦力であるセイバーが三門からしか入れない以上、それ以外の突入経路はないんだもの。
Yeah, theoretically, Shinji should have his own heart regardless. So, I mean, I guess unless the heart is overriding his heart, is it trying to coexist? Questions. I think he's waiting for us at the mountain gate. The only route we have is the mountain gate because our greatest force, Saber, can only enter through there. I mean, she's pretty good, but did you see how badass I was in my fight with Future Son? Well, you didn't, but Saber did. So,
なるほど。
I see.
私は単身で山門から突入する。
I will rush the mountain gate by myself. And what are we gonna do?
リンとシロはその隙に裏から竜道寺に侵入するのですね。
Okay. Rin and Shiro will sneak into the Ryudo Temple from the back while I do.
マスターである二人なら竜道寺の結界も意味はない。
The boundary field in the Ryudo Temple is meaningless for you two. I mean, is that still true for Shiro with his bleed through from Archer? Is it still meaningless for him? Is it specifically have to do with heroic spirits, or is it just general power level? How does this curse on the thing work exactly?
そういうこと。セイバーには頑張ってもらうしかないんだけど、とにかくあいつの足止めをして、私たちも聖杯を止め次第、すぐに駆けつけるから。
Exactly. You'll need to give your absolute best, but just keep him busy. We'll come help you as soon as we stop the Holy Grail. I doubt it's actually going to work out like this, given the clear foreshadowing for a Shiro-Gilgamesh fight. Saber's probably going to get in trouble, Shiro's going to have to jump in and help, and then they're going to end up swapping opponents or something of the sort, I bet. You figured he pulled Shinji's heart out first? I feel like if he had pulled Shinji's heart out first, he would have just died on the spot. And he definitely was alive long enough to, squeal in anguish for a while. So, yeah. And even if it's like their heart, I don't know, maybe that is the thing with Ilya. She's just so magically strong that she was able to live without her heart or grow a new one. I don't know. But that idea seems weird to me. I don't know. I wouldn't doubt it. It just, We'll come help you. I mean, maybe if it was Shiro and his Wolverine powers, then maybe he could regrow his heart, but I don't know about Ilya. We'll come help you as soon as we stop the Holy Grail.
待った。それは無茶だ。セイバーじゃあいつにはかなわない。
Hold on, that's reckless. Saber won't be a match for him without Avalon. Here, let me pull it out from inside my butthole.
足止めなんてできないぞ。
She can't keep him busy. Just because you saw him fight Berserker. Saber's stronger now, so I think it's debatable. Saber should be stronger now than she was in Timeline 1. Definitely without Avalon. With Avalon, I don't know, are they equally matched? I think it's debatable because what it came down to is, Saber would use her Excalibur and Gilgamesh would use his Ea. And the idea is that Gilgamesh's Ea wins that clash. But is that still true under these current circumstances is a question. Because the way that Saber won in Timeline 1 is she flashed Avalon and was like, you're stuck using Ea for too long and you can't retreat your attack. So Saber was able to get close and slash him and kill him. Without Avalon, she won't be able to do that, but is Excalibur strong enough that she can actually be a match for Gilgamesh now? I think there's a debate there. But I guess we'll see. When we get to the actual fight, if she seems to still be losing, then we'll know. But yeah, Saber's stats definitely went up. And just, he's still Goldie. Wise up. At some point we wised up. half god, half human king that ruled the Sumerian city of Uruk in the years before Christ. He said to have actually existed. He was the king of heroes, the Epic of Gilgamesh, oldest epic poem. So divine as to be 2/3 god, 1/3 human. Originally a tyrant, and then there was something about snakes. At the end of a long journey, many hardships. Ilya's only... Didn't they have Avalon on hand? Right now, Shiro still has Avalon inside him. So it's going to depend on if Shiro, actually passes it off to Saber. Because that was the whole thing in Timeline 1, is that Shiro had it in him for so long, and then took it out and gave it to Saber, so she was able to use it as her, trump card, as the ultimate shield against Gilgamesh's Ea to beat him. So Shiro didn't have it for his fight against Kirei, but he still sword-birthed it. He still made, he projected one, a version of the sheath. But right now, the sheath is still inside Shiro, so unless they're going to, do another operation, which would just be kind of repetitive, and I don't think they know to do it this time. Saber hasn't been close enough with Shiro to really realize. Future Shiro did drop a hint that Avalon was inside past Shiro, but I don't think past Shiro really picked up on that. Do we get details from him yet? No, not really. In Fate Route, how Ilya survived. Because of Avalon. They used Avalon to make her survive. If that's the case, I don't remember that at all. I remember the fact that she just lived because she lived. I do not remember Avalon coming into play there. If it did, I'm forgetting, and I apologize. Anyways, she can't keep him busy.
何よ、やけにあいつの肩を持つわね、シロ。
Huh? What? You seem to think pretty highly of him, Shiro.
全くです。確かに彼は強敵だが、それでも防戦に徹すれば、私とて簡単には敗れません。
True, he is a strong enemy, but I will not lose easily if I go into defense.
その根拠を言ってください、シロ。
Please tell me what that opinion is based on. Timeline 1, when I know that you lose the fight if you don't have Avalon, but that's not necessarily true anymore because your stats got buffed when you switch to being connected to Rin. If she's still supposed to lose this fight, then they shouldn't have buffed her stats in the stat screen.
いや、そういう意味じゃないんだ。俺が見た限り、あいつよりセイバーの方が強い。
Oh, that's not what I meant. From what I see, Saber's stronger than him. Ilya was fine on that timeline. She was built to be a Grail. Sure, but if you're saying it's the heart, you can't pull out the heart and expect someone to live. And yet the Grail was destroyed. So if the Grail was the heart, unless the Grail is just the birth of the Grail is the heart, and the real Grail comes out of her, and so it's still inside her afterwards. But if that's the case, theoretically the same would be true with Shinji. I think Shinji's already too far gone, but I don't think the Grail's... I think, saying that it's the Grail itself is the heart, I think is misleading if it just creates the real Grail. If the fake Grail just summons the real Grail. But, Did they not actually destroy the Grail that time? No, that was... if they failed, it was not made clear to us that they failed. That it seemed... the intention, based on what I was seeing in Timeline 1, they gave off the impression they destroyed it. So my understanding is either the Grail came out of Ilya, or there was it's only the summoner inside Ilya, and it summons the real Grail is the other possibility. But the reason they need to pull the heart of Shinji specifically because he can't handle it. I don't know what you mean. The Grail was never really... From what I understand, the Grail was never pulled out of anyone in Timeline 1, but they still destroyed the Grail. Which means it's a summoning thing and it summons it outside itself. You could say Shinji's defective and so can't summon it outside himself. But that's a whole other argument, I would say. Anyways, I keep anywaysing. I don't know. I'm interacting with chat, which is fine, but also, I want to get to the Rin bathing scene. It's not what I meant. From what I see, Saber's stronger than him.
これは絶対だ。かけてもいい。
I'm sure of it. I'll bet on it too.
では、なぜそのようなことを言うのです？
So you're saying she's stronger in this timeline because of her pact with Rin, huh? Then why are you saying that? Because of his... Oh, you mean specifically because of his cheating noble phantasms?
だから、英霊である限り、あいつには勝てないんだ。
Oh, his chains? I mean, he never whipped out the chains against Saber in Timeline 1. I guess he... A, he didn't think he would need to. And B, he wouldn't have necessarily wanted to get her with chains. But no, chains are based on godly people, and that's because Berserker was like had godly blood in him, but then Saber doesn't, right? So maybe I'm thinking of something wrong. You can't beat him as long as you're heroic spirit. What does that mean?
そうだな。もしあいつがセイバーと同じ宝具しか持ってないのなら、セイバーはまず負けない。剣士としての能力は比べるまでもないんだから。
Yeah, Saber won't lose if he only had the same noble phantasm as Saber. He has a version of it. He has a version of, I forget if he has a version of Caliburn or Excalibur, but we don't even need to compare the two skills as swordsmen. Saber does not have Divinity, yeah, so those chains shouldn't even work, but...
けど、あいつの強さはそういう個人としての強さじゃないんだ。どんなに優れた兵士でも戦争そのものには勝てないだろ。
Are you arguing that Gil humored Saber by even giving her a fighting chance in the other timeline? I think Saber actually did a really good job, but you know. Saber won't lose if he only had the same noble phantasm as Saber. Yeah, he's got, okay. You're saying he's got infinite noble phantasms. Saber hasn't really gotten time to study him. I guess that's a fair argument. This timeline, even if Saber's stronger, she hasn't gotten the time to study him, so she'll be got caught off guard and not be ready and doesn't know his techniques. Whereas Shiro subconsciously does because he's mentally time traveled. And he's also seen a bunch of them in the Berserker fight in this timeline, where Saber didn't. That's fair. Okay, is that relevant that he saw a bunch of them? That's fair if that's true. The chains are for later. Yeah, for Saber? Mm-hmm. Oh, it was a version of Caliburn, not Excalibur. Okay. I forgot if he had a version of Caliburn or Excalibur. But yeah, that's right, because Excalibur is like a fairy-granted sword, so he wouldn't have had a version of it. He only has versions of stuff that's actually, like, bound in the human world or whatever. A soldier can't, both his power, but his power isn't power as an individual. A soldier can't beat war itself no matter how strong he is, right? Yeah, because he's got a bajillion weapons. Mm-hmm.
あいつはそういう類の英霊だ。対抗するには同じ戦争じゃないと飲み込まれる。
You're really talking yourself up, huh, Shiro? He's a heroic spirit of that kind. You'll be defeated unless you're a war just like him. Saber's not really a war, but I think an argument can be made that Gilgamesh was humoring Saber, and of course let his guard down because that's just what he's going to do. But I think he would definitely humor Saber again in this timeline, unless he's more determined, unless Gilgamesh is more determined in this timeline. Which, if he's so opposed to Shiro, there might be some determination there. And it's also possible that something that went on through this timeline, or if it's true that all servants are subconsciously have a little bit of mental capacity in them, Gilgamesh might subconsciously remember losing the saber, so may take her more seriously, or he might have, you know, developed more about his exact wish on the Grail. If, you know, he didn't really talk about it in Timeline 1, so maybe he didn't even have it. It's debatable. But if he didn't and he grew it now, he might be more determined, and so he might take Saber more seriously, possible. Graham, isn't that great? Kilogram is way more powerful. Gotcha. He's a heroic spirit of that kind. You'll be defeated unless you're a war just like him.
つまり、シロは私と彼とでは相性が悪いと言っているのですね。
So you're telling me that my attributes are not fit to fight him? Maybe as well, I mean, maybe if I keep his war busy, she could fight him close up, because Shiro does have a war, but then again, someone needs to destroy the Grail, so we have to separate, I suppose, debatably. Maybe the Shinji Grail is going to be going out of control and rioting and stuff, and someone needs to keep it contained, and that'll be Saber's job. So Saber is going to effectively fight Shinji at that point. And then what is Rin going to do? I guess it doesn't matter. She's basically just background fodder at this point. She can't keep up. Har har. I mean, I know it's her waifu route, but and she was just busy being a damsel in distress, so she should do something during this interaction. Even, you know, just as long, it'll probably be something small, just something that matters at some point. You're telling me my attributes are not fit to fight him?
ああ、そういうこと。だから登坂、何の策もなしでセイバーとあいつは戦わせられない。せめて突破口ぐらいないと勝ち目がないんだ。
Yeah, Tosaka, we can't let Saber fight him without a plan. There's no way she can win unless we have some sort of countermeasure. And that theoretical countermeasure is Avalon if you're going to go through with that, but I don't think you really know about it. So yeah, I can respect this. This is Shiro being smart. He saw in the Gilgamesh fight the kind of stuff Gilgamesh does. And also, maybe this is also an excuse, because Shiro has gotten really good at making excuses, as Saber said. And he himself thinks of himself as a war and the person who needs to beat Gilgamesh. And, you know, Saber needs to theoretically be the one to destroy the Grail. Of course, Rin's already argued why that's not true, but he's definitely finding more and more reasons why he needs to be the one to fight Gilgamesh. Whether or not they're all founded, but I think they are to an extent. Whether or not they reach into excuses or they're legitimate is up for debate, because we've seen times when we know she can win, at least with Avalon.
そんなこと言われなくても分かってるわよ。
I know that already. I don't need you being the lead strategizer in my relationship with my servant. It was my servant first.
だから今からそれを考えようって言ってるんじゃない。
That's what we're gonna think about it now. Well, I mean, Shiro thought about it just now. I guess to be fair, Rin would have seen the onslaught from Gilgamesh as well, but would she have been able to pay attention like Shiro did? I don't think so. Shiro's got a sharp eye for that stuff and would have noticed all the weapons and has an idea maybe of how to counter them. Rin probably wouldn't have been able to catch any of them.
ではリンには策があるのですね。
Then you have a plan, Rin? Rin's usually not one for plans. She had a plan against Castor, I'll give her that. I'd argue she had a real plan there. It was a few steps, but with Gilgamesh, I don't know. Do you, Rin?
あのね、そう都合よく思いつくはずないでしょ。
Hey now, I won't conveniently come up with an idea in a flash. Are you sure? You seem to be best at thinking on the fly, if anything. Prepping in advance, I don't think is really your strong suit. You have general tactics, but as far as strategy, the Castor fight is definitely the closest you've come to full-on strategy, I would say.
シローの言った通り、あいつの宝具は戦争だもの。
His noble phantasm is a war, like Shiro said.
戦争っていうのは戦力をどれだけ整えたかで勝敗が決まるものでしょ。いかに上手に兵器を扱えるかじゃなくて、どれだけ相手と同じ戦力。
The outcome of a war is decided by how much force you have, right? It's not how well you can handle the weapon, it's how much force you can prepare. Oh, you bringing up your freaking jewels again? Is she? The outcome, maybe you can enhance Saber somehow with your jewels? The outcome of a war is decided by how much force you have. It's not how well you can handle the weapon, it's how much... yeah, there's some debate there, even if you have a bunch of shitty swordsmen. If you have 1,000 shitty swordsmen and they have 10 good swordsmen, the shitty swordsman will usually win. So, if that's what you mean, then yeah. It's how much force you can prepare.
なんだよ遠坂、いきなり黙り込んで。
She's thinking about Archer and Shiro probably, and how he basically does this. He fights kind of sort of like Gilgamesh. What's wrong, Tosaka? Or at least he has the potential to. Why'd you shut up all of a sudden? Although the big difference is that Archer likes to pretend he can't whip out a bunch of weapons and usually focuses on just like one or two at a time, though he can if he has to. Whereas Gilgamesh will just whip out all the weapons all the time, and will sometimes be like, I'm going to respect you by showing you my A on my one weapon. So it's basically the reverse. Why'd you shut up all of a sudden?
そっか。だから目の敵にしてたんだ。そうよね。自分の宝具を持たない英霊なら原点になる武器さえ存在しない。
I see. That's why he treated you like an enemy.
それってつまり。
Since the heroic spirit doesn't have his own noble phantasm, there is no original. Oh, wait, that means... you mean original weapon? That Archer would have had? That Gilgamesh could have had the original of? Because Archer only ever copied. And theoretically, if Shiro copies all the weapons Gilgamesh had, but Shiro copies the better versions of them, the ones that were refined more through time, like copying Caliburn instead of Garm, or whatever. For example, if he copies the better versions and copies them well, he might have actually an advantage against Gilgamesh. If he theoretically has the metachlorian count to make it possible, maybe what he needs for that is a reality marble. Can he do the reality marble on such a short notice? We'll see. Oh, wait, that means... She's blushing.
どうしたのです。いきなり私の背後に回って。
She doesn't want to admit how good Shiro is and how much, he might be capable in this fight. Because what, after being saved by Shiro, she maybe wants to put more force forward. But also, she just likes Shiro, and now all the more after the future and past and coming together. Rin, what's wrong? Why are you behind me? She's getting nervous. Oh.
なんでもない。ちょっと考え事するから二人で勝手に会議してて。
Did you remember that past Shiro will be kind of sort of as strong as future Shiro potentially? And you also realize that past Shiro kind of sort of beat future Shiro in a fight even though you didn't know the full circumstances? So is this you realizing how awesome in a fight Shiro is and you're getting nervous about how good he is? Or is there something more to this? Where are your nerves coming from? Is there some... Oh, wait, that means... Or were you cutting yourself off for another reason? You got nervous all of a sudden. Maybe you're on your period. I don't know. It's nothing. I'm going to think. So just talk it over. It's just the two of you. And then you're going to go to the bath. And then I'm going to catch you in the bath. Make it happen, game. Ellipses question mark? Saber and I look at each other. Well, I'll leave her alone if she has an idea.
では、そうなると、アーチャーとの一騎打ちは避けた方がいいということですね。
Then I should avoid fighting Archer one-on-one, correct? The strategy meeting continues as we talk about how to beat, or rather, it's the game convincing us. The game is doing its best to convince us, the reader, why Shiro fighting Gilgamesh makes more sense than the repetitive Saber versus Gilgamesh, which I can appreciate. I mean, clearly they've been setting up the Shiro Gilgamesh, but there's no real reason, until they're giving the reasons why they shouldn't have the servant fight the servant. So I'm glad that they're giving the reasons. Good on you, game. Yes, tell me more. Why Saber? Why Shiro will fight Gilgamesh? Okay, so, right then, I have to do the whole pee-pee thing. Let's do that. Pee-pee poo-poo. Dee-dee-doo-doo. I've got two wee-wee. Then I should invite... Keep it in. Keep it in, future me. That's good. The booby-woo-woo, that's good. That's effective. That's effective post-break returning that I am ruining by not just... I should avoid fighting Archer one-on-one, correct?
ですが、私とてリンのバックアップがある。
But I have backup from Rin. So what, you're saying I'll be the one to destroy the Grail while you two do it? No, opposite. You two fight the Grail. Or is Rin gonna give me backup? I mean, Rin even being in the fight might be unfortunate. What is Gilgamesh's magic defense? He's got magic energy B, magic resistance E. His defense against magic isn't amazing, but he seemed to nullify whatever magic attack Rin threw out against him initially. So I'm gonna assume that wasn't with a jewel, but it could have been with a jewel. I could see it going both ways. Saber's got magic resistance A, so there's a big difference. This Archer's got magic resistance D, so theoretically his magic resistance is even lower. Theoretically. I should avoid fighting Archer 101, correct? But I have backup from Rin.
彼女からの供給があれば、封印していた私の宝具も問題なく使用できます。それならば、彼が宝具を使用する前に倒せる可能性もあるのですが。
With her support, I believe there's a chance of beating him before he can use his noble phantasm. That's the thing, Saber, you'll lose. I know you're better, so maybe you won't, but at least if you were partnered with me, you would lose. And you wouldn't know this, but your Excalibur will lose to his Ea. I have seen it play out, at least theoretically. Again, unless she's stronger now because of Rin. I don't know. We still don't know. We still don't know that you're King Arthur. I believe there's a chance of beating him before he can use his noble phantasm.
セイバーの宝具それって風王結界じゃなくて
Oh, now we're finally gonna learn. Your noble phantasm? Not invisible air?
はい。風王結界は鞘に過ぎません。
No, invisible air is only a sheath. Oh, wait. How long has Rin been blushing back there? She's blushing now. Was she blushing the whole time I was going through this conversation? Or did it just happen? Invisible air is only a sheath.
リンの許しがあれば、私は自らの聖剣を使用できます。
I can use my holy sword if Rin allows it.
前回聖杯を破壊したのもその件です。
This is the sword that previously destroyed the Holy Grail. Right, in Timeline 1 as well. And in Fate Zero, I suppose. I didn't remember it really fully being destroyed. My memory tells me that, like, I feel like Gilgamesh was holding it and was giving it to... I don't know, but, like, my memory is clearly wrong. I'll believe you if you say you destroyed it in Fate Zero. But it means we need to find a more permanent way of destroying it, clearly. If the Grail is evil, and our goal is to destroy the Grail, you know, forever and ever and ever, then we need a more permanent means of destruction, given that it just came back 10 years later. Timeline 1 clearly didn't solve much, given that maybe that's the idea, is that Makiri's doing something, but then that'll lead us into figuring out something even better and some permanent way to destroy it. What could that be? I don't know. But clearly we need something. If Fate Zero, you destroyed it, that didn't work. This is a sword that previously destroyed the Holy Grail.
そうか。じゃあそのあたりはTosaka次第ってことか。
I see. And it'll be all up to Tosaka? What are you thinking about Tosaka? Why are you freaking out?
そうですね。聖剣を使用すれば、私だけでなく、リンにも大きな負担がかかります。リンの
Yes.
魔力の大半を奪うことになるでしょう。
There will be a big burden on me as well as Rin if I use it. I'll probably use up most of her magical energy. Oh! I just thought of what Rin could be thinking of. Maybe, like, she calls him Goldie, even though we have not seen him wear that gold armor in this timeline at all. And so, that's why there was a theory earlier on that Rin had a memory. It would make sense if Rin had memories of seeing Shiro when he was younger based on Archer, and saw that young Shiro facing off against Gilgamesh, and saw him with his gold armor. So because of that, Rin might actually know something about Gilgamesh and Shiro fighting, potentially, depending on what dreams she's had. Or she might know even something about Gilgamesh and Saber fighting, and that he would theoretically win the clash, possibly. So maybe she was blushing when she had remembered a dream where Shiro did good against Shiro, and then she's getting nervous because there was a dream where Saber did bad against Gilgamesh. Maybe? Did I say Shiro did good against Shiro? I don't know. I'll probably use up most of her magical energy.
だってさ、Tosaka お前の魔力量、どのくらい余裕があるんだ
Did you hear that, Tosaka? How much magical energy can you spare? Unless she's been in her own world the whole time, not listening to her conversation, given that Shiro was yelling. Though Shiro could be yelling just to get Rin's attention, even if Rin has been listening the whole time.
魔力量って、なんで私の考えてることわかるのよ、あんた。
Magical energy I can spare? How do you know what I'm thinking about? Okay, never mind. She's in her own world. I thought she was paying attention. If you were paying attention, Rin, we were just talking about that. Has your mind been going through the same loops as what our talk has been going through? Or something similar? Rin is now officially a battery. Oh no. Just as long as she's not like the orphans. Eh?
なんでもない。私のことは放っておけって言ったでしょ。セイバーの宝具のことならちゃんとわかってるわ。
No, it's nothing. Nandemonai. I told you to leave me alone. I know about Saber's noble phantasm. You've never seen her use it, though. I don't think you've talked with her about it. You only know it because of flashbacks of future Shiro. Are we going to talk about that? You saw Saber using it in your flashback of Shiro, right?
言っとくけど、私とセイバーじゃ撃てて2回よ。
She should be able to use it twice with our magical energy. Ooh. Not everything you have, then? Confident in your magical energy, huh?
1回は聖杯に使うんだから、ギルガメッシュとの戦いに使うって言うなら1回だけだからね。
We're gonna use it once against the Holy Grail, so you can only use it once against that Gilgamesh. Maybe you shouldn't use it at all against Gilgamesh and let me handle it? Or maybe Saber, maybe it'll be different. Maybe instead of Saber being my Vegeta, maybe Shiro will actually be the Vegeta, and Saber is the Goku in this fight. I mean, it's possible if she's gonna unleash her Excalibur at a critical moment, but I think it's more likely that Shiro can fend off Gilgamesh than... It's more likely that Saber can fend off Gilgamesh for Shiro to build up something than Shiro can fend off Gilgamesh for Saber to build up something, but I could be wrong. Maybe I'm underestimating Shiro's potential with the Reality Marble. You can only use once against Gilgamesh.
そういえば、遠坂はそう言ってるけど、どうだ？
I see. Saber, that's what Tosaka's saying, so what do you think?
わかりません。アーチャーがあらゆる宝具を持つというのなら、私の宝具と拮抗するものも所有しているでしょう。そうなれば、あとはどちらの宝具が優れているかという戦いになる。
I do not know. If Archer has every existing noble phantasm, he should have one that can equal mine. After that, it depends on who's the stronger. Do you know that? Are you supposed to know that? Because that was the whole thing, is you had to learn what Gilgamesh's shtick was in Timeline 1. And I don't know, did he say what his shtick was in I guess he might have said and I wasn't paying attention, because it's always hard when you know things, but your characters don't necessarily know things, and then they suddenly know them, and you're like, wait, did you learn those? Was I not paying attention? Or do you know them because subtle timeline memories? After that, it depends on who's the stronger.
そうか。結局、宝具の競い合いになるのは否めないのか。
I see, so it's going to be a fight between the noble phantasms, huh? Then Gilgamesh is likely to win. I can't let Saber fight such a hopeless battle. Man, I can't think. She's been acting strange. Of course, the Rin is on your mind. Why'd she keep on looking at me like that? Oh, because she had memories about Shiro, probably. And thinks that Shiro should be the one to do the brute force, but she doesn't want to admit that she thinks Shiro should do that, maybe. Or maybe she's remembering her past with Shiro. That was apparently a thing. In the bad ending, they referenced how Rin felt indebted to Shiro from something that Shiro wouldn't remember. And that was theoretically before she had... So, I still don't know what that is, but... Why does she keep on looking at me like that?
はい、遠坂。
Tosaka.
言いたいことがあるなら言えよ。
Come out with it if you want to say
あるんだ
something.
ろ？
You have an idea, right? What is your great idea, Rin? And maybe call her Rin for once, huh, Shiro? Like, gosh. You know, how long are you going to put off calling her Rin? When are you going to push the Rin button? I guess, to be fair, we still haven't seen, you know, the really fan servicey scene, so maybe that's when it'll happen.
ないわよ。こんなところで言えるわけないでしょ、バカ。
I don't have an idea. I can't say such a thing here, you idiot. Oh. Ooh. Blushing about her idea. I can't say such a thing here. So she has an idea, but the idea is scandalous. Okay, this goes beyond her wanting to admit that Shiro's cool and all. So, Oh, dragon sex with Rin, maybe. Maybe because Shiro is the one who has all the fancy... Rin knows how Shiro fights, more or less. So Shiro would have a war of his own, so it's about pumping him with that energy. So if Rin had dragon sex and gave him some of his energy, then it wouldn't be dragon sex, because Saber's not involved, unless she is. Saber's not involved, so there wouldn't be a dragon, but I just think of it as dragon sex. If we had dragon sex with Rin, then maybe, yeah, Shiro could take some of her circuits and become more powered up. Would he be able to take Saber's circuits, though? Or would that never really work? Maybe that would be a magic overload, I don't know. But that might... I think that's a decent chance that's what she's thinking of, given how she's blushing. I can't see, you idiot! She yells at me and looks away awkwardly. Yeah, I think that has to be why she's blushing so much about it. Because, like, yeah, if it was just about admitting how cool and awesome Shiro is, I think we're past that for being this blushy.
Shiro.
Shiro? I don't know, thinking about where this started. She was thinking about, oh yeah, you need a war to face a war, you just need the force, and then she was like, oh, that's how you could get the force. Shiro?
いや、なんでもない。あいつは変なんで、ほっといて話を進めよう。
No, it's nothing. She's acting weird, so let's ignore her and keep planning. We continue with the strategy meeting with just the two of us. Rin already has the best strategy. How long is she going to take to blurt it out, though? As our brain, Tosaka won't talk. Oh, you're admitting Tosaka's the smartest among you? I mean, I think Shiro's gotten pretty good at the smarts, but he seems to be best at fighting on the fly, so Rin, I guess, is arguably the best general planner of the bunch. Given that she knows the most about magic in general, I can see that as a fair argument. Though Shiro's the one who brought up the idea of Saber not taking Gilgamesh head on, so... As our brain, Tosaka, won't talk, we can't come up with anything.
ないんならさっきの案でいいでしょ。
We can't go with the previous plan if you guys can't come up with anything. What previous plan? The one of Saber fighting Gilgamesh? Is that the previous plan? Because Shiro never wanted that anyways.
結婚は夜明け前だから、それまで各自自分の部屋で十分に休みを取って。
Oh, never mind. I read wrong. We can go with the previous plan if you guys can't come up with anything. We'll head out before dawn. Everybody is to rest until then. Oh, you're not gonna say it. You feel too grody about the idea. You're too like cooties. There's too much cooties about a potential dragon sex. So you're like, I can't do that, and that also might be endangering Shiro. So, yeah, I mean, that would be a big step. I can't do that. That would be like, oh, we really are a couple, and she hasn't really admitted, like, anything in that direction. So Shiro has to be the one to say it, maybe. Which, I think would be fair. Given that Shiro's already said how much he likes her, and she beat it around the bush about liking him back, I think it's only fair for Shiro to, bring it up. But will Shiro be smart enough to catch on? When it comes to stuff that doesn't relate to a person's feelings, romantically, I think Shiro's gotten pretty smart, but this is romantically, so we'll head out before dawn. Everybody's to rest until then. Our course of action is decided by Tosaka, even though she feels unsure about it. Maybe she'll change her mind in the middle of the night, or change her mind if I catch her bathing. Some time passed after that, and then I catch her bathing. It's almost midnight, and then I catch her in the bath. Ellipses. Or she just comes into my room or something, right? Tosaka told me I should take a nap, but I can't sleep in a situation like this. Okay, I'm not sleeping, so I'm awake when I should be napping, and she's taking a bath when I should be napping, and so I catch her in the bath. We're gonna settle our score with that servant in a few hours. Since we're heading out before dawn, everything should be over by the time the sun rises. Ellipses. Now I catch her in a bath. I can't just lay here and not do anything. I obviously peek on Tosaka and catch her in the bath. When do we get the fan service scene? Also, this is similar to just before the final battle with Gilgamesh and Kirei in Timeline 1, where we, had 3 options before the big fight, and it decided if we won the big fight or not. So, this is probably an important decision. Yeah, so where are we? Yeah. When do we get the big fans? When do we get the... Yeah, okay. Alright, let's see here. Go over strategy with Tosaka. Go to the dojo to check up on Saber. Or think. Think? Think is an option? This is the Rin route, so theoretically we pick the Rin choice, right? But like in Timeline 1, the choices were, see your dad or whatever, and basically pray to him and say like and essentially Shiro dies as Kirei's son there, not Kirei. Kiritsugu. I get them confused. They start with Ki. He prays to Kiritsugu and then dies. In 1, he trains with Saber, but nothing comes of it, and they have a fun time. They have a really fun time, but then they die. And the third choice was we need to plan. So it could be that I have to not do the Rin choice and instead just think. If I wanted to be fucking repetitive, I could go to the dojo with Saber and say, hey, here's Avalon again. But I'm sure the game wouldn't do that, even if I tried. Although maybe it would. Maybe there'd be a clever bad ending, and I'll definitely look out for that if there is. But at the moment, because, I'm trying to be full on. I'm trying to be full on Rin as much as possible, theoretically. And I've been wanting that fan service scene. It only makes sense to pick the Rin choice. Shiro's the protagonist. He's lucky thinking he's even an option. Thinking might be correct. If he thinks, given how Shiro's a bit of a better thinker in this timeline versus Timeline 1, an option to just plain think, and how much I, Renegade, like to think. Thinking is a very tantalizing option, but it's what let him essentially more or less kind of succeed in Timeline 1. And also, I want to do the Rin waifuing. My urge, the pervert in me is outweighing the tactical person within me. So that's why I think I'm going to go with Tosaka. If that doesn't work, my second choice Okay, if that doesn't work, I'll probably just want to go to the dojo and check up on Saber out of the way, because thinking will most likely be correct in that case. But I'll try Tosaka first, assuming this is a you pick wrong, you die type of choice, which I am assuming. Sure. Let's go over strategy with Tosaka. And he still calls it Tosaka. He still calls it Tosaka? Yeah. I can't sleep in this situation. No. he Oh fuck, where'd the choice go? No, I mean he still calls it strategy. One of the choices is think, and the other choice is go over strategy with Tosaka. So it's still kind of thinking if you go over strategy. Toe sucker action. Oh yeah, we gotta suck all of her toes. She's got 10 of them, right? Let's get to it. Let's start sucking. I can't sleep in this situation. A plan against Gilgamesh. If we're to fight that cold-hearted enemy, I'll have to come up with some plan. Okay, it's still a version of thinking. Thinking on his own probably won't work in this version, because in the other timeline, it's different. In timeline 1, there was a very clear, Shiro and Saber had came to their resolutions. They were both kind of in a healthy mind state, and they realized they needed to, think of a way to win and think less of, romancing. They were past that. And so choosing the Saber option there is wasting time on the romance when they had come to the conclusion, they shouldn't be wasting time romancing, so it is a waste of time. But here, that's not been, they're still unresolved. And there's very clearly unresolved stuff with Rin, and Shiro seems to be kind of unresolved too. And obviously Rin is seemingly thinking of a plan, so even from that perspective, it's even more the correct option. But anyways, I have to come up with some plan. Someone will die if we head to the rear temple as we are now. I wonder who will die. Will it be Saber? Will it be Rin? Will it be me? Probably Shiro, so we can get a game over. But maybe it could be a non-standard game over and just be a bad end where we see Rin die and Shiro's eyes go white and he goes, nah! Someone will die if we head to the rear temple as we are now. Compared to that, thinking until the very last minute is nothing. Now we catch Rin taking a bath. Oh, we're going to catch her half naked. Not taking a bath, just half naked. Are you awake, Tosaka? I knock on her door. Hold on, don't come in. I thought Tosaka would be sleeping, but I guess she's still awake. Maybe she's doing something fancy. Maybe she's, because Shiro she thought, oh, I'll give all the stuff to Shiro, but then it's like, no, that's two cooties. I'll have to prep as much as I can to do it myself, even if I have to sacrifice myself. But so she's maybe awake trying to prep as many jewels as she can or something. Unless she's prepping for this and she was going to do it anyways and our choice here doesn't matter. But I feel like it would matter. I thought Tosaka would be sleeping, but I guess she's still awake. More importantly, she's in a panic. She's half naked, clearly. Open the door! Open it! Open it! The pervert in me needs you to open it! After a few minutes of rustling sounds. No! She must have calmed down. Ah! So now to satisfy my perversion, she has to purposely start stripping for Shiro. She must have calmed down. After taking a breath, I can hear even outside Tosaka opens the door. All right, what does your non-pervy self look like? Your actually somewhat decent self. At least you'll be some kind of pajamas, right? No. No. You just have your regular clothes. What a tease. Ah, I chose wrong. The pervert is disappointed. The pervert within me. So, what? So, can we go back in time and I can open the door being too stupid to wait for your answer so I can see you half naked? I joke, but that's actually bad, and I only wanted it because I'm a perv. In universe, I think Shiro did the correct, polite thing. So, what? Tosaka glares at me as soon as she sees me.
いや、何って話の続きだよ。ギルガメッシュへの対抗策をもう少し考えたいんだ。
I know I'm playing the censored version, but like, no, even if it's censored, I don't know like what next levels it goes to uncensored. But Timeline 1, we got there was some pretty, what's the word? Risque stuff in Timeline 1 with Saber. We've never had anything that risque with Rin yet, so that's why I'm like, come on, give me the goods. I want to continue our conversation from earlier. I want to keep talking about how to fight Gilgamesh. Okay, I'm going to get my mind out of the gut. Focus on fighting Gilgamesh. Strategy. No romance. Dashes. Wait. Why are you glaring at me? Is it because you think that I'm thinking what you're thinking, but I'm not?
Tosaka, もしかして今すごく不機嫌か?
Tosaka, are you in a bad mood? I asked the obvious. Of course! She doesn't even respond. That's the obvious response she's gonna give, but I have to ask. I mean, there's several reasons to be in a bad mood, I suppose. But...
別にそういうわけじゃないわ.
You're afraid for Shiro, maybe? Or afraid for going through with the cooties? No, that's not true. Is your version one where you can turn censorship on and off? I don't believe so. I think it's just fully off censorship, which I am fine with. I like things a little risque, but when they get too risque, I'm like, it can potentially take away from the narrative. So, like, I'm a greedy jerk who wants a bit of it, but not too much. But I like some stuff being left to the imagination. However, after the fact, after I finish the game, I will probably do a little bit of a look-see into, how risque it really can get. And I know there's also, even beyond some of the fan servicey stuff, there's a few other, apparently I think there's a few scenes that are a little more graphic in terms of just violence. I'll probably look into those. I don't know if I'll do that on screen or not. I'll decide when I get there, but... I mean, some of that stuff is if some of the risky stuff is really risky, then I may not want to do it on screen. The censorship changes some plot points a bit. Oh, interesting. I'll be sure to comment on that, then for sure, whether or not I show it on stream. But, it'll be an interesting talking point when I get there, but... Anyways, no, that's not true. She gives a strange response. I remember when I was first getting into downloading Fate, way back when. I tried to initially get the fan servicey version, but it was giving me issues. There's a few different versions you can get, but the version I ended up getting was one that was not the fan servicey version, and I'm like, I guess it's for the best, but... I did try to get the fan service version originally, and then I just settled with this. And this is borked on my graphics, but I mean, if it doesn't have the best fan service graphics, why does it even matter, right? Who even needs the graphics if they don't have the best fan service graphics? She gives a strange response.
Tosaka, お前熱でもあるのか?
Tosaka, are you sick or something?
ないわよ。もういいから入ったら。ギルガメッシュをどうこうするかってことなら。
No, geez, just sit down. I'm gonna give you a plan to beat Gilgamesh since you can't come up with any. I mean, Shiro kind of poked you in that direction anyways, Rin, but alright. Talk to me about the thing that I'm pretty sure you're thinking about. Tosaka pulls me inside, locks the door, and walks to the back of the room. Oh, you're gonna have to strip a little naked because of the dragon sex, yes! So you'll have to do it, that's right! My pervy self will be satisfied. Ellipses, question mark? I moved to the center of the room for now. I sit down on the cushion, face Tosaka sitting in a chair. Oh boy, the music stopped. Oh, never mind. It was just a lull in the music. I'm too horny. Dashes. Dashes. And an awkward silence follows. Tosaka is silent even though she's the one with the plan. Obviously, because it's a horny plan. I'm all for it. Let's do it. Rin dragon sex. What do you call it instead? Jewel sex? Yeah, we gotta have the jewel sex.
Tosaka, ギルガメッシュのことなんだが。
Tosaka, about Gilgamesh.
分かってるわよ。セイバーと戦わせたくないって言うんでしょ。セイバーには優しいのよね、ヘミヤ君は。
I know, you don't want Saber fighting him, right? You're especially kind to her. Rin picking up on that a little bit more in this time. I mean, she certainly noticed it in Timeline 1 and didn't care as much, but here, you know, me and her are becoming more of a thing, so she would care a bit more. You're especially kind to her.
そういう話じゃないだろう。
That's not the point here. There's half a point there, but also Rin, of course, would bring it up because, you know, she wants your body, even though she hasn't said it. You've kind of said it. You said you like her, but she hasn't said it back yet. Although, maybe she'll do that in this scene. Right before the end, because that's how much of a tease she's going to be. She's going to hold off to right before the end. Saber had her dragon sex with us basically, you know, half to 2/3 of the way through her route, but Rin, we don't get her jewel sex till just before the final battle. That's not the point here.
単にセイバーじゃあいつとは相性が悪いから配置換えをするべきだって話だ。足止め役のセイバーが倒されたら次に狙われるのは遠坂なんだから。
I'm saying that we should switch the roles since Saber won't fare well against Gilgamesh. If Saber is defeated, you'll be his next target. I mean, Shiro, Rin already talked about you're probably going to be his first target.
じゃあ配置換えって言うけど、どうするつもりよ。
Oh, you
私
say...
はパスよ。
Yep. You say switch roles, so what are you thinking? You think Rin will do well against Gilly? No, you think you will. But do you really? Or do you just, are you just being, again, slightly suicidal? Like the idea that I'll try to win through determination without a plan, but at least this time Rin will have a plan for us, so that already makes it better than the, Shiro off, as it were. Saber won't fare well against Gilgamesh. Switch roles.
あの金ピカ、金に焼かせてタイム術の武装をまとってるし。
So even though he's got magic resistance, he has like magic resistant noble phantasms, I suppose. I'm gonna pass. That Goldie used his riches to collect all the magic resistance equipment in the world. I don't think he's wore it yet, but with his armor, I suppose.
私じゃセイバー以上に相性が悪いわ。それはあなただって同じでしょ。
I'll do much worse than Saber. That should be the same for you as well, right? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Shiro. Dashes. That's true, but... I can't get those eyes out of my head. Your future self's eyes or Gilgamesh's eyes? Whose eyes? Archer. Okay, they're both Archer, but sure. Archer definitely told me this. That the Golden Servant, that only Emiyashiro can match Gilgamesh.
遠坂、怒らないで聞いてくれ。
Tosaka, don't get mad and hear me out. Hear me out on the plan that you already came up with first.
あいつの相手は
I'm going to fight.
あなたがするって言うんでしょ。
You're gonna fight him, right?
なんだ、やっぱり気づいてたんだ。ギルガメッシュの宝具の鉄壁はアーチャーの魔術なんだって。
No, he did not. Oh, so you realized it too, huh? Gilgamesh's natural enemy is Archer's magic. No, no. That is not what he realized. He was just like, Future Shiro told me, and I am a believer in determination, therefore I must. Huh? I opened my mouth in surprise.
えって。
Huh?
シロ、あんた気づいてなかったっていうのに、そんなふざけたこと口走ったわけ。
You said you're gonna fight him when you haven't realized that? Of course, he's Shiro. What do you expect? He always wins through determination, and if he has any actual tactics or battle plans, he comes with them on the spot when things start going wrong in the moment. He never thinks of things beforehand, though.
いや、それは確証がなかっただけで。
Exactly.
俺たちの中なら一番俺に可能性があるかなと。
He would just come up with the ideas in the moment. The problem is, even if he comes up with all the ideas in the world, it might not matter if he doesn't have the metachlorians. If Rin can give him enough metachlorians to make the reality marble, then maybe that'll matter because reasons. I don't know exactly why, but I think it'll reduce the amount of energy Shiro needs in general when using his copies. He might be able to vie off of future Shiro's copies, potentially if that's a thing he can do, if they're like stored there. Past Shiro may be able to vie off of future Shiro's copies that he's made with that reality marble, if that's a thing. And then Gilgamesh will be in a worse position potentially. I didn't have any proof, but I thought that I might have the best luck against him.
誰に入れ知恵されたか知らないけど、それは間違いじゃないわ。
I don't know who told you that, but you're right.
ギルガメッシュを最強たらしめているのは宝具の数でしょ。けど、逆を言えば、同じ数の宝具さえ持っていれば力はきっ
What
抗
makes
する。
Gilgamesh so strong is the number of noble phantasms he has, but to put it another way, one can match him if one has the same number of noble phantasms. Yeah, that's why she got all cootie. She's like, Shiro could do it, but Shiro isn't that strong. But of course, if I give him more magical energy, yeah, makes sense. The thought process certainly makes sense. If only we had future Shiro here, but he already went and died, so past Shiro has to do it instead. That shows future Shiro on his way out. He was only thinking, he was being the hero. He was saving past Shiro. Past Shiro being Gilgamesh. It should be harder for past Shiro to beat Gilgamesh than future Shiro. But even though it should be harder, future Shiro still decided to save past Shiro in the end. He did the unpractical thing because it meant, trying to hold on to that dream, that ideal, as it were, that past Shiro convinced him of. The through line is nice. I just think there should have been more there in terms of past Shiro. Beating him for more reasons than just that. But to put it another way, one can match him if one has the same number of noble phantasms.
同じ数の宝具
The same number of noble phantasms? Or perhaps more, because Gilgamesh does theoretically have a limited amount. Even if he has all of the ones that ever normally existed, Shiro can theoretically make all of those and more. Theoretically, he could still make Excalibur. I don't think... and also, if I understand right, Avalon is the sheath of Excalibur? I don't remember which one it's the sheath of. But I don't believe Gilgamesh has a version of Avalon, so, etc., etc., etc. And Shiro could make that, at least in Timeline 1. And now Shiro has Avalon inside him, so that gives him more endurance anyways. Even, assuming they don't take it out before the final battle, which it looks like they're not going to. The same number of noble phantasms means he needs to reproduce all the noble phantasms he takes out.
そうよ。あいつはあなたたちのことを偽物だって言ってたけど、それは敵として脅威を感じたからでしょうね。あいつは英霊エミヤに対してだけは互角の戦いをせざるを得ないんだから。
That's right. He was calling you guys fakers. That's probably because he saw you two as a threat. Heroic Spirit Emi would be a complete match for him. Avalon fits both. It should be older than Excalibur. I don't know exactly then. It's probably because he saw you two as a threat. Heroic Spirit Emiya would be a complete match for him. Yeah, that's why I kind of wanted to see that match. But I guess it's more interesting to give it to us when there's a clear underdog, which is to say Shiro, in the running. I suppose Gilgamesh learned of the fact that Archer, assuming that he knew of the way Archer fought and wasn't going purely based on what he was talking about. If Gilgamesh was calling Archer out as being a faker, it would have been because on some level he was snooping on the fight with Castor, and so he saw Archer essentially fighting the same way Gilgamesh would fight. It could also have just been based on his words, but if he was actually, fearing / respecting him, it would be based off the weapons and knowing how he fights. That's probably because he saw you two as a threat. Rogue Spirit Emiya would be a complete match for him. Then again, future Archer, future Shiro never met Gilgamesh in Timeline 1, so it could just be that Gilgamesh running into him has this sense of who and what he is, so that's also possible. It could just add to Gilgamesh's bullshit OP powers. Maybe one of the freaking noble phantasms is, you just know what a servant is by scanning their data. Like a tattle function from a Paper Mario game. Heroic Spirit Emi would be a complete match for him. Dashes. That's true, but...
そうかもしれない。けど
Maybe.
無理がある。
But that's impossible.
アーチャーの剣を一本投影するだけでボロが出るんだぞ。あんな、次から次に宝具を出されたら、投影も間に合わないし、魔力も持たない。
I can barely manage to project one of Archer's swords. I can't keep up with his noble phantasms, and I don't have enough magic energy to do so. Not with the magic energy you have now, at least. And also, you can keep up. You did keep up with him when he summoned his reality marble. you actually did keep up with him, you know, a little bit once.
あなたの魔術が今までと同じならね。
That's if your magic is just like it was until now.
けど、アーチャーの宝具が何だったか覚えてるでしょ？
But you remember what Archer's Noble Phantasm was, right?
あの魔術、固有結界さえ使いこなせるようになれば、ギルガメッシュに対抗できる。
Interesting that they're bringing it up in advance. Huh, okay. In Timeline 1, I do think Avalon should have been set up better, for sure. In Timeline 1, I talked about this at the end, how Avalon, being how Saber beats Gilgamesh, it should have been set up a little better exactly, you know, how good of a, how useful of a shield it is, that is to say. Here, though, I think the Reality Marble has already been set up enough that they don't really have to talk about it in advance, so talking about it is almost ruining the surprise theoretically. I mean, I already saw it coming this time, but, this makes me think maybe there's more to it then. Okay. You can match Gilgamesh if you can use that magic, right? That Reality Marble. Tosaka stares at me. But I can't live up to her expectation.
無茶だ。固有結界ってのは禁呪中の禁呪じゃないか。やり方がわからないし、アーチャーが世界を作るときに使った魔力は俺の数倍だぞ。
Well, that's impossible. The Reality Marble is the ultimate forbidden magic. I don't know how to use it. And Archer used magic energy several times my capacity to create that world.
ええ、無理なのは分かってる。
Yes, I know it's impossible.
けど、やり方ならあなたはもう知ってるはずよ。だって、あなたの魔術は結局みんなそれなんだもの。
But you should know how to use it because all your magic
もあなたの固有結界から漏れたものに過ぎない。
is rooted in that. Strengthening and projection. Those are the keys to a Reality Marble then? Projection is sort of... the Reality Marble's the end result of projection in a way. Both stem from your Reality Marble. Okay. Well, I mean... I guess... The idea of a Reality Marble. Your own little world. You say strengthening projection stem from your Reality Marble. But, like, he's been able to do these for a long time, so unless everyone has their own version of Reality Marble that exists all the time, unless they're specifically tied to projection and strengthening, it should have come from somewhere. The idea they both stem from Reality Marble, the idea that it's his Reality Marble, he hasn't actually made it yet, but already has it somehow, is a prospect. I suppose if he just recreates the one that Future Shiro already made, unless, again, what they're saying is that he just has one somehow, in which case, where did it come from? Unless everyone has one. But if everyone has one, yeah. Strengthening and projection both stem from your Reality Marble.
必要な魔力さえあれば、驚くぐらい簡単に歯車が噛み合うと思う。
I'm sure it'll be a piece of cake once you have the necessary magical energy. I think she's just saying past Shiro will vie on Future Shiro's Reality Marble, similar to how past Shiro studied the Yin Yang Swords from Future Shiro. I think that's what she's getting at. Be a piece of cake once you have the necessary magical energy.
仮にそうだとしても無理なことに変わりはないだろう。俺には結界を張る魔力も維持する魔力もないんだ。
Okay, let's say that's the case, but it's still impossible. I don't have the magical energy to set up the boundary field or maintain it.
あいつは長い年月をかけて魔術回路を鍛えていったんだろうけど、俺にはあいつほどの魔力が。
He must have trained his magic circuit for a long time, but I don't have the magical energy. She's gonna offer to give it to him. Set up the boundary field. Right, the Reality Marble is like... Right, they talked about this very briefly early on in Fate Zero, in like Rin's prologue, about how it's like sort of what the end extent, the ultimate version of a boundary field, and Shiro's not even really competent in setting up boundary fields in the first place. He's got this one around his house, but I think that was something Kiritsugu set up in the first place. But with the energy and with the knowing what to base it on. Because he did see it, so theoretically he knows what to base it on, in theory. He must have trained his magic circuit for a long time, but I don't have the magical energy.
分かってる。
I know.
でも、ギルガメッシュも言ってたでしょ？自分で補えないなら、よそから持ってくるのが魔術師だって。
Gilgamesh said it too, right? Magic take it from somewhere else if they can't supply it themselves.
だから、 俺にはそんなよそから魔力をもらってくるなんて器用な真似はできないんだって。遠坂みたいに宝石に魔力を貯めているわけでもないし。
But I don't have any way to take magical energy from somewhere else. I don't collect in gems like you do.
もしかしてあの宝石を使おうっていうのか？
Wait, are you telling me to use those gems? I don't have a magical element, so I don't think I'd be able to do that. Not quite, Shiro. Maybe. Although maybe those will be part of it too.
それで済むならとっくに渡してるわ。けど私の宝石は私にしか変換できないから却
If
下。
that worked, I would have done it already, but I'm the only one who can convert my gems, so that's out.
でもアプローチとしてはそれしかない。
But the only approach is that one.
他人の魔力を自分のものとして扱うのにはいろいろと手順があって、現状でできることといったらもうそれぐらいしかないわけだし。
There are a lot of procedures in order to use someone else's magical energy as your own. But the only thing we can do right now is that one, so... Give it to me. Give me the fan service. Give it to me.
なあ遠坂、どんな考えかぐらい教えてくれないか？これじゃあ相談にも乗れない。
Hey, Tosaka, could you at least tell me what you're thinking? I can't participate in the discussion like this.
え、
Huh?
そんなことシロに言えるわけないじゃない。
There's no way I'd tell you that, Baka! You're the one suggesting it! Seems she thought of something she can't tell me about. That one.
なんでもないの。
It's nothing. It's definitely nothing.
方法はいくつか考えられるんだけど、その中で可能性の低いものを取捨選択していただけで。
I can think of a lot of methods, but I just happen to pick an improbable one. You mean, pick the one that, the only one that can work on such short notice, I would argue?
そうなのか。それでいい考えがあるのか？
I see. So, any good ideas?
率直に言うと、私とあなたの問題。
Yeah, to be frank, it's about you and me, you and I.
魔力の蓄えのある魔術師同士をつないでやりくりする方法よ。
A method to connect two magi with reserves of magical energy.
俺と遠坂の間にパスを通して魔力の融通をする？
You're gonna make a path between us and lend me magical energy? It's a little kinkier than that, but yeah.
そう。シローに固有結界を使うための魔力量が足りなくても、私にはある。
I thought a reality marble was like a super big deal, but I guess you theoretically could. There'd just be no point to it because you'd have nothing to do with it. I mean, you can make boundary fields. You could make a reality marble. All right. It just wouldn't be very good for you. I thought the reality marble was like a big deal, that it's hard to make and you normally wouldn't make it. But I guess I thought it maybe was tied to the fact that you could do it was tied to his projection. But I suppose she can do it. It's just like, maybe it's like projection where there's not much to, or rather strengthening, where there's not much to be gained with it, so you don't really bother. But theoretically, you can gain a lot with it if you know how to do it. And Shiro knows how to do it. Maybe that's the idea. I don't know. Even if you don't have magical energy to use a reality marble, I do. Well, there it is. There's the solution, I suppose. Two magi with reserves of magical energy.
あなたには私の魔力を使ってギルガメシュと戦ってもらう。その間に私とセイバーが聖杯を破壊する。こっちにはセイバーがいるんだから、私の魔力が多少減っても戦力は拮抗するわ。
I'll have you fight Gilgamesh using my magical energy. Meanwhile, Saber and I will destroy the Holy Grail. I'll have Saber, so even if my magical energy is depleted, I'll still be able to fight. As long as it doesn't get all the way depleted. Because if it does, Saber would, like, blink out of existence in theory. It also means you might only be able to do one Excalibur slash on the Grail. It's a big deal because of the skill it requires to maintain the risks involved. It's like having gasoline but not a car. It takes more than power to actually build one. She has mana to do it, but she doesn't have a reality marble. Okay, so then my thought about everybody having a reality marble that just kind of goes alongside their power set is not true. So Future Shiro definitely had to make it. So this is past Shiro vying on the version that Future Shiro had. I think that's fair. I'll have Saber, so even if my magical energy is depleted, I'll still be able to fight. If I can restrain Gilgamesh with my reality marble, As long as there are no other masters or servants left, the Holy Grail will be wide open. Wait, is she talking? No. I'll still be able to fight. So this is Shiro. If I can restrain Gilgamesh with my reality marble, as long as there are no other master servants left, the Holy Grail will be wide open. Oh, no. No, that makes sense from Shiro's perspective. Sorry, I had to do a devil take there. I'm like, the Holy Grail, isn't she going after the flip? But yeah, it'll be wide open for her. Wouldn't be such a big deal if everyone had it. Well, yeah, that's why I was like, wait, she said she can make one? That's weird. I thought it was a big deal. That's why I was confused. But alright, I get it. The Holy Grail will be wide open. With a Magus like Tosaka, as well as Saber, our chances of success might be pretty high. But with you? You're a nobody. Is that still your mindset, Shiro? It should be. You didn't really have the proper development and timeline, rather, in your fight with your future self to be like, I have self-worth. You did have a little pride in yourself. There's a little smidgen there. Just not much.
しかしだな。その前の段階が難しいというか、俺はパスの通し方なんてわからない。
Still, getting there is going to be hard. I don't know how to make a path. She does.
そんなの承知の上でよ。その方法を考えるのが私の役目なんだし。
I know, coming up with that is my job. Oh boy. Tosaka falls deep into thought for some reason. Oh boy, just tease me for a bit. Probably have to stop pretty soon, but just tease me. Just tease me. I'll probably do the full sexy scene at the start of the next stream, but just give me a tease. She doesn't look very happy. I feel like because she doesn't look happy because if she goes through with this, she has to like admit her feelings, because if she doesn't, it'll be awkward. And like she wanted to stay disconnected the whole time because of the pride of her family and because of wanting to stay disconnected. But now knowing that that's then there's also the fact that she knows the future of Shiro, and she knows future Shiro is all cynical and stuff, and she doesn't want this Shiro to end up maybe quite that cynical and cold and stuff. And it's like, well, if I give him the power to do the fight like Archer, he might just become more and more like that version of Shiro. So there's that as well. I think there's multiple things, but it doesn't matter if it's the censored version to Poima. Timeline 1 had some sexy scenes. We saw, you know, a little clothes undone from Saber. Like, I don't need it to go all the way. I just need to dip in. Like, again, to Poima. There was multiple, you know, more risque than we've gotten at all in this timeline. So, like, you know, exactly. I don't need the full sax. I just want a little 6. She doesn't look very happy.
パスの通し方だけど、即効性があって魔力の融通が可能となると、方法は数えるほどしかない。
When it comes to methods of making a path, I can count on one hand the ones that allow an immediate transfer of magical energy. I wouldn't know I played uncensored. Okay, well that's good for you. Well, I would know, because I've been playing censored apparently, and there's been some risque scenes. Clearly not as risque as they can be, I'm sure. I could definitely see it going much further, but as long as they give, you know, the surface level, that's all I want. I can count on one hand the ones that allow an immediate transfer of magical energy.
一番有効なのは魔術回路をお互いに移植すること。
The most effective is to transplant magic circuits, yes. So basically more or less the dragon sex with Saber, which was one of our sexy scenes there too, so. Transplant magic circuits? The most effective one, huh? Magic circuits are like a second nervous system and could be called the Magus itself. A Magus' mechanism that uses odd to operate mana. Say the time comes when a future descendant attains mysteries. In order for them to have the basic abilities to be able to use that theory, this living inheritance is added over the generations. Right. Uh-huh. Flex any harder, you might flex yourself with the battle. I understood that reference. You could say it's like blood and bone that strengthens through accumulation. Right, okay. And so to tear some out of herself is a big deal. Rin, I can see why she'd be against it, but I think she's against it more for kinky reasons. Because she was super hesitant to have Shiro, not even herself, but Shiro transfers to Saber, not for a kinky reason, just because she felt bad for Shiro and how he'd be like losing a lot of himself as a magus. And given how prideful Rin is, I can see why she'd be so against it. But given everything that's happened and her development and her closeness with Shiro, I can definitely see her doing it for this. But it's a big step for sure. So I can see why she'd be hesitant. Don't tell me anything. How much do you want to know about the difference between censored and original? None. Don't tell me. I'll find out later myself. I don't want to know the differences. I like my Fate Stay Night porn. Thank you very much. But, you could say it's like blood and bone that strengthens through accumulation. I'm surprised Shiro is talking so much about this, because this was something that Rin made out to be a big deal that Shiro was taking lately in Timeline 1, so whether or not this is timeline knowledge, or knowledge from his future self, or he just knows this somehow, probably a combination of a few things. If he did know it in Timeline 1, he didn't care much about it.
魔術回路って俺たちの中にあるあれか
By magic circuits, you mean the ones inside us?
そう。魔術師の本質をお互いに移植すれば、これほど確実なパスはないわ。
Right, there's no more reliable path than one made when two magic transplant one another's essence. Essence, ooh.
相手の回路の一部が自分のものになれば、そこへ魔力を伝えることは造作もない。
When part of the other person's circuit becomes yours, it's easy to transfer magical energy into it. Oh, yes. Oh, ooh, we're really into the foreplay now. Oh. Becoming yours. A brief explanation contains some guilt as well. Of what form? Wait. When it becomes yours, it's easy to transfer magical energy to it. Oh, not so. I thought it said again for some transplant back and forth. No. That's natural. If you do something as drastic as transplanting magic circuits, there's no knowing what might happen. A person who gives their magic circuit is giving up their status as a magus. I feel like these were things Rin had to tell Shiro in Timeline 1. So I think this is subconscious knowledge. The original bits are unvoiced. Oh, so the uncensored stuff is unvoiced because the censored version came out with the voices? Huh. I don't know if I'll fully replay just for the uncensored stuff. I'll probably just look up some, snippets online, but... Person who gives us up their magic circuit is giving up their status as a magus. But if this will settle things, then I won't hesitate. Yeah, the other time it was like reversed. Shiro was all gung-ho for it, and Rin was like, no, don't. But here, Rin's like, well, I guess we have to, and Shiro's like, wow, is she really going for this?
Yosh. 俺の魔術回路を移植しよう
Okay, let's transfer a magic circuit. No, it's more transferring her magic circuit. Maybe he thinks the opposite is happening. He thinks he's giving it all to her? No, she already explained she's giving it to him. Well, he could be inferring it, but... Ellipses.
なんだよ、遠坂
What, Tosaka?
気持ちは嬉しいけど却下。だって意味ないもの。
Oh, is he being stupid? Is he like, let's transfer you my magic circuit so you can make my reality marble? He is being that dunce. Okay, I see. That's why he was so accepting of it, I see. I thought he'd be more rejecting of it. I'm grateful, but no, there'd be no point. Just like that. I prepared myself, but she quickly rejects my suggestion. Of course you're into it, because it'd be you who'd be giving up your magus status, instead of the other way around.
なんで
Why? Maybe part of why Rin is okay with rejecting her magus status because she saw with Shiro what holding so firmly to a dream that maybe you don't necessarily believe in can lead to, and so she's like, maybe if I hold so resolute to the pride of the Tosaka, I'll end up in a similar position, and so you're trying to distance yourself for a similar reason. Although, at least that's why you're letting yourself go to this conclusion, allowing it to happen, as it were. Maybe. It's layered, I'm sure, but why?
いい？そもそも魔力を融通するのはシローの固有結界を使うためでしょ。なのにシローの魔術回路を減らしてどうするのよ。
Look, the reason we're transferring magical energy in the first place is so you can use your reality marble, right? Then why would we take away your circuits?
私の魔力とシローの全魔術回路を使って初めてあの固有結界は実現できるんだから。
Only with my magical energy and all your magic circuits will you be able to materialize that reality marble. Dashes! I see. I am the one who will be using the reality marble to give shape to that immense illusion that erodes away the world. Yeah. Okay, Shiro, that's a pretty dumb oath. You didn't realize that. I guess it makes sense why you'd be more willing to do it the other way around, which is why you might reject the other version, but I need to completely open my magic circuits. Transplanting those circuits to Tosaka to make a path and consequently not having enough circuits to perform magic would be putting the cart before the horse. Yeah.
わかった？
Get it? Do you, Shiro? Do you?
手間暇かけて戦力ダウンしているようなものよ、シロ。
That would mean taking time and effort just to decrease our potential for victory, Shiro.
すまない。そこまで考えが及ばなかった。
Sorry, I didn't think that far ahead. Well, you know, that's fitting, Shiro. Given how you're only really good at planning it all on the fly generally, it's fitting for you. At least this version of you is. Future Shiro is much smarter about stuff, but... Of course, future Shiro is no more, now we only have past Shiro.
いいわ、そんなに謝らなくても。今の返答、それなりに予想してたし。ま、即答だったのは予想外だったけど。
At least you can laugh about that. It's okay, you don't need to apologize. I kind of expected that response. Well, I didn't expect it to be immediate, though. Yeah.
じゃあ、遠坂の魔術回路を俺に？
Then, are you transferring your magic circuit to me? Yes. But that's...
確かにシローの回路を私に移植するより逆の方が戦力は確保できる。
Ooh, you're still reticent though. Certainly, transferring my circuit to you would guarantee our fighting potential more than the reverse.
でも移植の儀式をするのは私。魔術回路を使いながらその回路自体を減らしていくだなんていうのは、術そのものの安定が確保できない。
Oh, wait. Oh, wait. Oh! But I'm the one performing the transfer ritual. Decreasing my number of circuits while I'm using them would make the whole process unstable. Wait! Oh, wait! Oh, would it be Saber's circuits going into me? Oh! Oh! I was completely misunderstood. This might be bad! This might be the wrong choice! Because it's kind of like a Saber waifu choice, right? Oh no! It was still her plan, so I think it's right anyways, but that's big of her. I'm the one performing the transfer ritual. Decreasing my number of circuits while I'm using them would make the whole process unstable.
スカイマの契約ほど形式化していれば安全性は確保できるけど、魔術師同士のパスのためなんてのはあんまり例がないことだし。
I could guarantee safety with something like a familiar contracting ritual, but doing that for path between magi would be too out of the ordinary. Wait, I could guarantee safety if it was something like a familiar contracting. Oh, well, Shiro's been contracted to you in the future past, so...
共倒れになるかもしれないってことか。
You're saying it could destroy us both?
そう。あなたの魔術回路を私がもらうのは論外。私の魔術回路をあなたにあげるのは惜しい不正解ってところね。
It would be out of the question for me to take your magic circuits and giving my magic circuits to you would be a big mistake. So what's our solution? Saber giving me hers? The reverse of what happened last time?
だから。
So?
だから。
So?
あなたに私の魔術刻印を移植する。
Oh. Oh, that's an even bigger step. I think. Is it bigger? Plant my magic crest into you. That sounds bigger. A magic crest. That's the Tosaka lineage. Yeah. I'm basically becoming Shiro Tosaka, practically. Yeah, that's a bigger step. That's a bigger step. That's like her Tosaka crest, who she's gotten all the years. That is a bigger step. Shiro wants to steal Ren's girlfriend. I mean, he already... he had her first. A magic crest. That seems big. I've got a P building up. I have like 3 different pictures of this. I don't need all of them. Let's save over this one. Oh boy. Shiro becoming a Tosaka. That's a big deal. I wasn't thinking of before of the whole, yeah, Rin can't do the thing on herself if she's transferring her own things. But yeah, that makes sense. So I guess it works with the crest, though? You want to steal Rin's girlfriend, Rude? No, you're the one who thought of it. What are you talking about? Shiro had Saber first, that's what I was saying. If Shiro's stealing Saber now, Shiro had Saber first. Also, wanting to steal Rin's girlfriend, no, if you're talking about me, Saber's not one who I'd be one to waifu. I prefer Shiro being with Saber anyways. But, you know, if you're talking to me as a you, but Shiro becoming a Tosaka, that's a big deal. But yeah, woof, that seems huge. That's a huge development moment for her. Hopefully we can have a little bit of a talk about that, because that's so big. That's so big. What will come with the crest? Will we get some amount of memories from her? I mean, either memories or we talk about it or both, but yeah, for now I'm going to have to stop. I would have liked to go a bit longer, but this is a big moment. This is definitely a big moment, and I have to pee. Kind of badly. So, I'm done for now. Still don't have an outro for you. Stop recording.